Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we have a pretty spicy donation deck featuring Legolas Master Archer. This deck's doing a lot of other stuff, but we'll go over the new exciting cards first. So Legolas Master Archer is a 1 green 1/4 reach. Whenever you cast a spell that targets this guy, you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. Whenever you cast a spell that targets a creature you don't control, he deals damage equal to his power to up to one target creature. So to make this work, you need a spell that you can happily target your Legolas with, as well as targeting your opponent with some stuff, and maybe have a card that can do both repeatedly. And a card like that does exist. It's called Punishing Fire. So we can use this to target our own Legolas to grow if we want to, but we can also just use this to hammer down a load of creatures, including Orcish Bowmasters. The person who submitted this deck said they really wanted to be good against Orcish Bowmasters, or certainly not lose to Orcish Bowmasters. So Punishing Fire is pretty good for windmilling those down, and the whole deck kind of feels like it's got some useful elements. We're even running Gilded Goose because it's a 0/2 instead of a 0/1 mana dork. I'm not really sure this is correct to do this, but we're going to give it a go. So some of the other new cards we've got here. Delighted Halfling. 1 mana, 1/2, adds for colourless mana or adds mana of any colour to cast uncounterable legendary spells. So that's uncounterable Minsc and Boo, uncounterable Grist, uncounterable Kroxa, which is an interesting one, and uncounterable Legolas. I think those were the only legends. Yeah, so pretty useful, I think. And as you can see from this, we've got what we call a scam shell. So we've got Griefs and Reanimate, so we can throw out a Grief on turn 1, then reanimate it. Just take 2 cards from our opponent's hand and have a 3/2 in play. And that's usually a pretty solid way to start off a game. We've got a couple of Endurance because they're just solid green cards. We've got a couple of Fiend Artisans, which can be used to find our singleton Legolas. It can pull out more Grists if we need them, or Griefs, or whatever. We do not have a Dryad Arbor in the mana base, so we can't go and fetch a Dryad Arbor and then sack it to Fiend Artisan, because the person who submitted this did not want anything that were getting swept up easily by an Orcish Bowmasters, which means maybe our Fiend Artisan could get swept up by our Bowmasters, because none of our other creatures are dying, but we'll see how that pans out. We have, I mentioned this Kroxa, which is not a card that I've ever been impressed with, but it's one of those things that looks like it should be good, but when you actually play it, it's very different to Uro, because making your opponent discard and making your opponent lose life or whatever is not really as good as drawing cards for yourself. But maybe it can shine here, we'll see. It's only a one-off, so maybe we can go and find a Fiend Artisan when we're getting into the grindy stages. It's also free value off the Grist, so it's not like it doesn't have some synergy with the deck. So I'm confident as Kroxa decks go, this one might be one of the better ones. We've got a couple of Once Upon a Time, just sort of grease the wheels and get us moving. And we've got a few Thoughtseizes as well. These are to sort of poke a hole alongside the Grief, so we've kind of got 7 discard effects. And we have another new card here. Oh yes, we're playing lots of new cards today. So we have Call of the Ring. This is a 2 mana enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. If you're unfamiliar with the ring tempts you mechanic, it's basically goes through several stages where every time you get tempted by the ring, you choose a creature you control and it gets the abilities. And every time you get tempted by the ring, you add additional abilities on. So one of them is like lets you loot, another one makes it harder to block, that sort of thing. One of them makes them lose life. I've seen some people playing this card a little bit. I've not been wholly convinced by it, but I think it's too early to say. I think the fact that it doesn't do anything the turn you play it is quite a lot against it in my view. But new cards, if you're not testing them, what's the point, right? You've got to play the new stuff and see how it fits. Some people have definitely been enjoying this one. And at the end of the day, it's still a black card for Grief. And, you know, we can draw some cards with it, so it will be like a little Howling Mine or a sort of a little Phyrexian Arena sometimes. So as long as we've got a creature in play, we've got a little draw engine going. So I can definitely see why people are testing this. And I'm excited to see how it pans out. Works pretty well with things like Minsc and Boo, which keep giving us creatures every time. But the whole idea is that we have creatures that are slightly harder to deal with in terms of Orcish Bowmasters, at least. So maybe we'll get some things sticking around. And obviously Grist can keep making creatures for Call of the Ring too. So I like some of the synergies going on here. The more you think about it, the more different ways overlap. So I'm quite excited to see how it plays out. Mana base wise, possibly a touch greedy in places. But we do have like a lot of duels here. We've got a swamp and a forest. We don't have a mountain. So we're not playing for around Wasteland. We're playing for around Blood Moon here. So we have these Wastelands. Like our mana dorks are interesting because like Delighted Halfling is only colourless mana unless you're casting one of your legendary spells. Now, those are kind of the more colour-intensive things anyway, so that should be fine. And Goose is a mana dork, and then it's a slow way into the mana dork. But the food here does offset the life loss of Call of the Ring. So, again, another little interesting bit of synergy packed into the deck here. So, what I'm going to be looking out for when playing this deck today is how Call of the Ring performs. This is not something I've played with yet. I haven't played with any of the Lord of the Rings cards yet, so I'm excited to see this one. I'm also excited to see the Halfling into Grist curve, because I think that's going to be very strong as well. And I'm curious to see how the mana base works as well here, with the mana dork being a colourless mana dork unless you're casting a legend. So I think it's kind of interesting to see what mana bases should look like with Delighted Halfling in, and what sort of selection of your spells you're going to be casting on that. Alright, quick chat about the sideboard. There's lots of the One Ring going around, and that deck, I think today is the day where the All Access goes up, so people can play anything if they just pay like $25 or something. So people are going to be playing a lot of the One Ring, so I wanted to make sure we had a lot of Collector Ouphes in there. We've got another Lord of the Rings card. This is Destroy Target Artifact, Enchantment, or Creature with Flying, Scry 1. It's quite expensive for what it is, but it's a new card. We're giving it a go. People submit decks to me with new stuff in. We've got to give it a whirl. So what this is mainly going to be hitting, it can blow up Murktide Regent quite effectively, which is something that the rest of our mana base, the rest of our spell base is not great at doing. We kind of have to use Grist to kill anything bigger than what a Punishing Fire can handle. So having a little bit of help for killing flyers might be useful. And Artifacts and Enchantments are good things to destroy, but 3 mana is quite steep. We've got the Pithing Needle, just a good tool that we can have. We don't really have any way of tutoring for it though, but we can still board it in, and when we draw it, it'll be good. Carpet Flowers, absolute standout green sideboard card. Lets you cheat the curve against blue decks, so we can drop multiple spells a turn or whatever and overload their counterspell shields. Red Elemental Blast. We're playing sort of a fairish mid-range game, so we need these cards to get through some of the counterspells for control decks. We've got 4 Leylines to try and beat the graveyard decks that definitely go underneath us because we are quite a fair deck. We've got another discard in the form of Thoughtseize, and we've got an Opposition Agent, which is a thing that we can shoot for with Fiend Artisan. And there's plenty of decks that get annoyed by Opposition Agents, so makes sense there. Alright, I don't think I have much more to say about this deck, having not played it yet. I'm excited to get into it and see how it all plays out once we get there. If you would like a donation deck for the channel, by all means get in touch with me, either via the Discord on the link below, or just drop a comment in the comment section of the channel and I can get back to you and we can arrange something. I'm currently charging £15 for a donation deck, which I think is pretty reasonable, and yeah, I need the money, so why not donate me a deck? Also, check out the Patreon below. There's some good stuff on there, and I update it quite regularly. Like a couple of times a month, there's content going on there. So why not check it out? And yeah, just like, subscribe. All these things help. Let's play some Legacy. Right, so our opening hand is Thoughtseize into Call of the Ring, or Thoughtseize into Fiend Artisan. These are both fine. I think we'll keep this. So without a 1-drop creature, Call of the Ring feels a little bit awkward because we're not going to get anything on the first turn we have it. Right, we'll lead off on a Bayou, cast this Thoughtseize, and let's hope we don't get Wastelanded. Defense Grid, Mystic Forge. Looks like our opponent is on one of these, the One Ring Artifact combo decks. There's a Saga. So they can play a pretty good Saga game here. How are we going to deal with that is the question. I think because this Call of the Ring doesn't do anything either the turn we cast it or the next turn because we don't have a creature in play, we just want to get our Fiend Artisan up and running. We don't have a main deck Collector Ouphe, unfortunately. This will have to do. I don't think it's worth casting a Grief here. Alright, so they're going to play Ancient Tomb, I imagine. There it is. And they're just going to make some constructs. Oh no, they've got a Grim Monolith. Are they going to use this to make a construct? It's probably fine because they're going to get a key off the Saga to untap it anyway. We did not hit another land, which is awkward, I would say. So we can't deploy this Grist. I guess we can play the Call of the Ring, so at least you can draw 2 cards next turn and hopefully end up going somewhere better. We can't attack because the construct token will be a 2/2. So we might just lose to the sort of backup beatdown plan that the deck has, which is quite strong. As Saga is one hell of a card. Yep, so here comes the Saga token. Then they'll use the Ancient Tomb to make the Saga token on their turn. They'll get the key off of it, and they can play any of these lands in their hand to use the key to untap the Monolith. They might just go like into something like Shadow Spear here, if they have it. But I imagine it's the key, yeah. That makes the Grim Monolith play make a lot of sense. This can also give, aside from untapping artifacts, this can also give creatures unblockability, which is quite potent. Sure, so untapping the monolith. Have they got the one ring here? No, they have defense grid. All right. They have 2 defense grids. That's fine. That's not how we're trying to interact this game. We're going to take 6 this turn, which is an awful lot. So that's our little ring bearer there. We'll pay some life because I think we need to get out of this hole somewhat. Go with the Burnwillows, Grist. So let's have a look at the different stages of the ring. So the first one is your ring bearer becomes legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. And then when it attacks, you draw and discard. The one after that is when it becomes blocked, the creature that's blocking it gets sacrificed at end of combat. And then the last one is each opponent loses 3 life when they get dealt damage by a ring bearer. So we can try and turtle up behind this Grist. It's probably about where we're at here. So black, green, colourless. And that's about all we've got for now. They are showing us this Ottawara in their hand from when we Thoughtseized them earlier, but we don't really know if they're likely to get blue mana in the near future. I suspect they don't really need it. So they're getting quite close to just playing Inventor's Fair and fetching the one ring, which we pretty much lose to. Okay, Mystic Forge, that's worse than the one ring, but can do similar chains of play. Manifold Key. So they can untap the Forge or the Monolith here. I don't feel our opponent's really under any pressure. Both of these constructs are almost certainly going to be lethal. So we're going to have to chump block both of them. And next time we're going to have to chump block again. And we don't really have an eject button from this game either. I suppose we can use the Reanimate to get an additional blocker. But I'm not really sure how we're supposed to beat all of this stuff. That is why we have 3 Collector Ouphes in the sideboard. Sure, we may as well have 6 a turn, just let them go ahead with it. So, tapping the Mystic Forge. Yeah, so if they'd have had the one ring instead of the Mystic Forge, they would have drawn like 6 cards at this point. Something along those lines. Alrighty. Now, we could try to not block here. We could let, so they're both coming at us. This land is already turned off. I guess we try and block one and hope that we can survive on 10 life. This does turn off our Reanimate. We can't pay the life here. Another Reanimate, you say? It's not really what we're looking for, is it? Let's make a guy. I can play another Fiend Artisan. What does that achieve? Not a lot. So we can play this. We've got another chump blocker. Then we can... We know actually we know one of the cards in our opponent's hand here. But this is going to put a second creature into our graveyard for the purposes of growing our guy. Alright, so they do have a City of Traitors. Fair enough. So this is going to make our Fiend Artisan bigger. So our Ring Bearer can attack. And we can draw a card and discard a card. I guess we discard Reanimate. Like, neither of these cards are really doing anything for us right now. So our plan is to chump block again and then race using the Grist. So our opponent does have an Ancient Tomb. Now the chance of them being able to kill us seems quite high this turn, because they can use their Inventor's Fair to go and get a Walking Ballista if they want to. They probably don't have a Walking Ballista in the main deck though. They have to get the Khan and then shoot. So you've certainly got some options. There's a City of Traitor. The game isn't over. It's just very, very nearly over. If they get the one ring, okay, they can just make their guy unblockable. Yeah. They saw the line. I forgot about that. All right. I didn't even mention that earlier. The only way that we could win that game is if our opponent made a mistake. Okay, so this is why we have 3 Collector Ouphes in the sideboard. We just say no to their things. Shower of Arrows can blow up artifacts. Pithing Needle is going to be good here. Opposition Agent is probably fine. Thoughtseize is probably fine too. Punishing Fire, probably not actually going to do anything in this matchup. Means Legolas probably not that useful either, sadly. The things that ramp us out pretty good. I want to have the sort of scammy hands with the Grief. If you want to keep that. Is it Call of the Ring? This card is very slow for what it does. We need to kind of just do our thing quicker. It's sort of more like a classic Jund post-sideboard. Anything that disrupts our opponent's hand or their permanents, plus a few big ways of winning the game like Minsc can be. We have Thoughtseize into Opposition Agent. Is that good enough? Or do we want to try and get a Collector Ouphe on the go? I think we can probably do better than this. This doesn't really look better. Let's go again. yuck. We've really... okay, we're going to get a 4 here. We have Thoughtseize and Grief on turn 1, and then hopefully draw some mana. Or we go to 3. I think we just have to keep this. Yikes. So we're probably getting rid of the green cards, although what are we pitching to this Grief? Probably feels bad pitching the Kroxa because it has so much use down the line. I kind of want to keep the Halflings. If we get green mana, this just gets us up above where we need to be. So whichever one of these we keep is probably getting pitched. So I guess we throw back the Kroxa. Oh wait, no, we have to throw back another one, don't we? Jeez. I guess we have to throw back the Halfling then, so we can at least disrupt their hand. Yeah, we've almost certainly lost this game. We could have kept that Thoughtseize, then do nothing until turn 3 hand. Maybe that would have worked out okay for us. But it did feel like 2 mana sources and a Collector Ouphe is game over. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan to 3, just chasing that. But we have double disruption. We don't even have to do the first disruption. So this means that Reanimate becomes a good draw for us as well. We certainly started ourselves off in an unfavourable position. Right, we'll begin with our swamp. Let's see what our opponent's working with over there. Khan the Great Creator, the One Ring, and some other stuff. Okay, so we're pretty much priced into griefing here. So we take the Khan. So they have no payoffs left in their hand. So no Khan, only 1 city. Alright. If we can draw Reanimate, we might be alright. Crystal Vein, this is going to play the Voltaic Key. I'm going to play out the Mox as well. Okay. 1 more mana source, and I think we can win the game. We need our opponent to brick this turn, and we need to draw a green mana source. Crystal Vein. Manifold Key, was that draw? Green source, green source. Not green source. Okay. Got to survive another draw step here. Oh, we did get rid of 2 payoffs. Okay, Grim Monolith, that's fine. Green source, green source. A Wasteland. Don't even know how much it matters to use this Wasteland right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, they got so much mana. Mana's not the problem. I think I'd rather keep this Wasteland so that we have the option of killing something like an Inventor's Fair or an Urza's Saga. We can use it to get rid of business. Alright. So there's the Urza's Saga. We'll take that out before it can tap for mana. Alright. So we are very much rewarded for keeping our Wasteland. Let's draw a green source. God. It's amazing how close we are to winning this game just off the back of this Collector Ouphe. Alright, they just passed through the whole turn. What's going on? Endurance. It's green, but it's not a green source. A Basalt Monolith. Okay. City of Traitors that we knew about. How bad is it? Mystic Forge. Okay. Not as bad as the One Ring. Because the One Ring would draw them as many cards as they wanted pretty much here. So they can still brick on the top. Alright. They've got 2 untaps. Alright. A load of land on top. And then a Mox Opal. A Lotus Petal. So they're just trying to churn for their deck till they find a thing that actually does something. Alright, we've got another draw step. Green source. Sure. Like, if we'd have drawn a green source at any point, then this game would be won. Yeah, so they're untapping their Basalt Monolith. Let's see how deep they go on the Forge. So if they find a Khan, it's probably game over. If they find a One Ring, we are very dead. Alright, the One Ring. So this is game over now. So they draw a card. Then they untap it. Draw 2 cards. Alright, playing a Basalt Monolith first. I guess they want to utilise the top of their library via Mystic Forge. Alright, and then we've got Khan here as well. So this Khan can lattice lock us if they want to. We're dead in multiple ways here. We're just going to call it a day. But if we'd have drawn a green source, we'd have been A-OK there. Because we would have shut down all their artifact mana and all this filtering through their library, and we would have just beaten them down over the course of a few turns. And obviously green mana unlocks some of our other threats potentially. But yeah, so the first game we just don't have a deck that interacts with what our opponent is doing. Our deck is kind of built to interact with Orcish Bowmasters, not the One Ring type decks where we just kind of don't have the tools. I think a main deck Collector Ouphe could help there. Alright, let's go to round 2. Our opening hand doesn't cast our spells, so we're going to mulligan this one. Okay, we can do some stuff here. We'll keep. And what am I interested in losing here? Is it the Malakir Rebirth? This is kind of an awkward one. I'm going to say no to that one. Hope these Punishing Fires are good. Scalding Tarn. So our opponent might be presenting us a lot of creatures that we can kill with Punishing Fire. That's the plan, at least. It does put us in an awkward spot with what we're fetching. Alright, a Tundra. Okay. We're looking more as a control deck, so these Punishing Fires might be less useful. They could still be like breakfast or whatever. There's a lot of things they could be. Our turn now. We have the option of Wastelanding here. Or we have the option of Thoughtseizing our opponent. If we Thoughtseize our opponent, I guess we can get a basic swamp here. I don't like it, but I'm going to go along with it. Let's see what our opponent's working with. Brainstorm, Nomads in Core, Ponder. Okay, so we'll take half of their combo here. They do have the other half there, which is kind of annoying. Maybe we could take the Ponder or the Brainstorm there. But we've got the Wasteland for the Saga, so we can just cut them off of 2 combo pieces. That seems fine to me. There's the Brainstorm. There's the Rainforest. There's the Ponder. So no as Saga yet. But by Thoughtseizing, we learned that we weren't supposed to just Wasteland the Tundra. We actually wanted to hold the Wasteland for something like a Saga. So this turn, we can drop the Fiend Artisan. We don't have to worry about Wastelands anymore because of our opponent's deck. So green, black. Let's play a 2-mana 1/1. Not quite the standout card we were hoping for. And this is a Tarmogoyf instead. We'd have instant sorcery creature land. So we'd have a 4/5. I'd rather have a Tarmogoyf in this situation. I do love Tarmogoyf. Right, so there's the Saga we knew about. So our Wasteland can pick this one up without problem. Any other little creatures that get in the way, we can dispatch them with Punishing Fire. I like the Halfling here. Let's get rid of this now. A Step Through. Okay, so this gives them access to Sephirate Illusionist here. So we have to hold open the Punishing Fire now. We can't deploy the Halfling in case they just have the combo rolled up in hand. At least we can interfere with it using the Punishing Fire. And then next turn we can play Delighted Halfling and Punishing Fire. So there's the island we know about. So they got some amount of mystery cards. A Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, this is worth killing as well. We're going to get Shuko, I assume. There it is. There's the Shuko. Are we supposed to kill this Stoneforge Mystic? I think so. Because we have the other Punishing Fire anyway. We're not going to have the mana to do 2 in one go. A Gilded Goose. We're going to attacks. This was something like a higher arc. We could be attacking for 2 here. So, what are we playing? We're playing the Goose. Or we're playing the Halfling. I think we want the Goose because it provides mana of any colour for things like Punishing Fire. Nomads in Core. Okay. So, we don't have a way of interrupting this combo right now. So we kill the Nomads and then they can just Shuko combo. So I think they have us coming or going here. We're just going to see their deck here. See what particular build they're on. Like I would say I'll be able to work out what the usual build is if they got the Stoneforges. Because either Stoneforge or the bottom row staff build. Do they have 2 Underground Seas in order to hard cast a Dread Return? That's one of the things I'm actually interested in. So they're just showing us their deck here. They're not letting all these abilities resolve anyway. Not that it matters, but I just want to see their deck and then we can scoop. They might want to Cabal Therapy us just to see what we've got in our hand. Silence instead of the Orange Chant is interesting. Yep, you can carry on, opponent. I just want to see your deck. Is there a second Underground Sea? That's the main thing I think I'm looking for now. Silence is a pretty powerful tool as well. So there's a second silence there. Alright, so they do have the Cauldron backup plan. Pretty expected. I can't see a single Underground Sea in there. So yeah, that'll do. They got the retro fitters, but no staff, which is interesting to me. I guess it can help make more creatures for dead returns if things go a bit sideways sometimes. It's just another backup plan with the Saga. And it does make your construct nice and big. So, I think we need these ley lines. They're going to be pretty useful. Pithing Needle is going to have some text here. The Red Blast is going to have text. Hand Disruption, Opposition Agent, Carpet of Flowers. These things all are somewhat useful here. What is not useful? I like the Scam package here. Punishing Fire seems good. This Fiend Artisan is not really impressing me right now. It's just a 2-mana 1/1 in our deck for the most. So maybe we'll get rid of that. We've got the Endurances though, so we need to keep a bunch of green stuff. The Legolas gives us a way of shooting multiple creatures in one go. That's quite nice. Still got a lot of cards to cut though. We're cutting the ring here. We're just cutting all the fun cards. A bit sad, isn't it? It's got a Scam package. Maybe we lose this. Gilded Goose is probably replaced by a carpet. That's fine. So we're 5 cards over right now. That's these 5. We definitely want our red elemental blasts. I guess we're boarding all these sorts of things in, so they once upon a time get worse as well. So we definitely need our Wastelands. Minsc and Boo is how we're actually going to win the game, along with the Grist. So we can't really get rid of those. The Delighted Halfling gets us up a bit more. But we need to make space. Maybe we'll trim a goose. We need to make 2 more cuts still. Yikes. Maybe we can't afford this Pithing Needle anymore. And is the one-off opposition agent going to be getting it done here for us? We can trim one of our reanimates because we don't want to get overloaded on drawing those. At least Malakir Rebirth is a land if it comes to it. Alright. We sort of sideboarded a bit more into fairer JUND here, but we still got like the Legolas stuff. And alright, this is pretty tasty, giving us uncountable Minsc and Boo. We don't really have the most amount of distraction. We can deal with a Saga, and we can Punishing Fire away a creature. That's 2 pieces of interaction. We know we don't have to worry about... Oh, our opponent's mulligan to 5 as well. That means our pieces of interaction are more likely to actually do their thing. Alright, so I think we'll go and get a Bayou here. Is it Bayou or is it Taiga? I think it's Bayou. And this one gets us a Taiga. Delighted Halfling. I think this Delighted Halfling card is very good. Mainly because it casts things like Teferi uncounterable, which is pretty... Alright. They just got the combo on turn 2. We have that answered though. I guess we'll play the Badlands first. And we'll go to attacks. I don't think our life total matters in this matchup. So if we're trading 1 and 1, that's probably favourable for us. I'm just going to go for it here. Okay, so we have to Punishing Fire this. We get got by a daze here. That's going to feel terrible. Alright. So there's a Cephalid. So we can kill this if we can resolve the Grist. I think we'll keep this Wasteland a secret. So we can go and get a Taiga here. As much as I guess we can make the Minsc and Boo and then sack the token actually. That's pretty good too. So red, green, black, green. Let's get our Minsc and Boo, uncounterable. We'll get a little token here. And then we will minus this, sacrifice the Boo, kill this illusionist. The second illusionist gone there. And an opposition agent. Alright, that's a pretty good turn for us. Now we have a very substantial clock on board. A brainstorm, sure. We can't recur this Punishing Fire just yet. A Stoneforge Mystic. This is probably going to go and get them Cauldra. Yeah. So we can get our little friend. And I think we will make our Boo bigger. We'll go to attacks. Attack with the Boo. Cast an uncounterable Grist. So black, green, and 1. And we'll sacrifice a creature. I think we're just sacrificing the Halfling at this point. We've cast both of our legendary spells we care about. And then we'll destroy this Stoneforge Mystic so they can't put in the Cauldra. And then we will play out our Grow the Burnwillows, keeping this Wasteland sandbagged for if our opponent decides to play an Ezra Saga. Flooded Strand. We can recur our Punishing Fire in our opponent's end step. Alright, we're kicking the gas now. We will not make a little guy. We'll make a little guy here though. And we'll make our little guy a bigger guy. I'm just getting ploughed now. And we have a Legolas here. Why wouldn't I get a Legolas back in? Let's do it. So we know they don't have Force of Will blue card. So we can target this and do a bunch of stuff if we want to. We can't attack now because of the Minsc and Boo got killed. But we can put a +1/+1 counter on our Legolas here. What is this? End of turn. A step through. Alright, so they're wizard cycling. But we have the combo. So we could have cast the opposition agent in response actually. That would have been a much smarter thing to do. That was an error. I was too busy. I was lost in the source of the Legolas. A Nomad's Encore. We know both the cards in our opponent's hand. Sure. Cast a Punishing Fire on this. Alright, let's scoop into that. Scoop into the Legolas. Alright, I'll take that. Do I want to do anything differently? I don't think so. I think our plan just works. Just JUND them out, right? Our opponent didn't actually have any counter spells for what we were doing. But we still had the mana ramp from the Halfling, which was good. And then we didn't have to change the way we played, trying to play around counter spells. We could just say, no, we can just do it. This hand is not good enough to keep. even though it has the Leyline in. This one, on the other hand, is pretty tasty. I think we keep this, put back one Thoughtseize. So that way we've got most of the mana to play Minsc and Boo, which is going to be how we win the game. The Leyline can keep their graveyard at bay. Keep. Goodbye Thoughtseize. Start with Leyline in play. So they're going to have Teferi to bounce this. Possibly Brazen Borrower as well. There's a Tundra. There's a Ponder. So they can still beat Leyline by getting their Thassa's Oracle into their hand using step 3. A Wasteland. Is that what I want to do here? I'm going to go get ourselves a Bayou. I don't think we need to play the Delighted Halfling now because we don't have anything to actually ramp into. I think I would rather... So they did shuffle off their Ponder as well, so they're not floating anything on top to dodge what we're doing. Alright, so they got Daze there. Can't pay for that, that's fine. Not super fine, but it's something. That sets them back a bit. You see the Tundra again? There it is. They're just going to play the guy. No, just a Ponder. Okay. We don't know how good this Wasteland is going to be. If we draw a land, I'm probably going to snap this Wasteland right off. But if we don't draw a land, then we can reassess the situation. Leyline in the Void. Yuck. So we're definitely playing this Delighted Halfling. Are we Wastelanded them as well? Tough choice. I think we do Wasteland them though. They didn't shuffle off their Ponder. But maybe their decision was based on having that land in play. Maybe it wasn't. But if our opponent can't get to 3 mana, they can't really win the game through our Leyline. Grist. Oh my god. How rewarded were we just then? Right, so this is colourless. This is black. This is green. Uncounterable Planeswalker, please. Let's make a little guy. Just means they can't float a thing in play and they have to have it all in one go. If we find a land, we can jam the Minsc and Boo and just start going to town on them. Alright. I'm enjoying this Delighted Halfling Planeswalker stuff. I fetched a basic land to dodge Wasteland, which might mean they're a little bit pressed. Okay, so they have a Saga. That is annoying. And maybe we're slightly punished for the Wasteland there, but we do have a Bloodstained Mire now. We do get to make an uncounterable thing. So, Taiga here because we have green costs, I think. Cast this, so this is uncounterable red, green, black, colourless. Make uncounterable large lad. Blue Elemental Blast. Yeah, that's sad, but is the life we lead sometimes. Right, let's just make another 1/1. Alright, we've got Punishing Fire as well now, so we've got interactions for little guys. Our clock isn't the fastest, but I'm not upset with it either. Right, so the Saga goes up. So they can win potentially next turn. Carpet of Flowers. Right, let's mill and see if we get any more information about what we're supposed to be doing here. Not especially. So they can make themselves a 1/1 here. Then we just attack with all creatures. We're not going to Punishing Fire this Saga. That's not what this is about. And we can't afford to play the Carpet either. We got an additional token because of the Grist milled another Grist. Yeah, so you can have yourselves a 1/1. We don't care about that. This is just bait. We will go and get back our Punishing Fires in case they have any sort of graveyard hate here. To at least have a Punishing Fire available. So they go and get a Soul Guide Lantern there. They can put the trigger on the stack, I suppose. But then if we try and return it, they can then exile it. Retrofitters. They're going to go for the big construct plan. How many creatures do we have in our graveyard? Not very many. A Grief. 1 creature, 2 creatures. That's not really going to get us there, is it? We've got 2 islands. It's not really going to help us doing that, is it? So I think we go -1, make some guys. And then we go to attacks. Attack with all creatures. If they block any of these, we can potentially kill one. But we don't necessarily want to do that. I think we're supposed to Grief here. Should have done this pre-combat, I think. Cephalid Illusionist, Cephalid Illusionist, Cephalid Illusionist, Stoneforge Mystic Source. I guess we take the Stoneforge. They could plough their own guy to buy them some health. That's interesting. Yeah, I was hoping they block and then we could Punish and Fire one of the guys, maybe. That's fine. So they kind of need to attack the Grist here. But we can still Grist for lethal next turn if they attack it with everything. Because you have 2 damage saved up in hand. So we'd have to plough their own guy. Coming at Grist. Both coming at Grist. So we go to blocks. We'll block 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. And they can gain 3. So yeah, that is lethal. All right, we got a match. We kind of went off some of our more fun stuff to get there. But I think the Delighted Halfling has really shown how useful it can be as a piece of mana around that you just know you can windmill slam your things. Even if they don't have counters, the fact that you can just go, oh, well, they can't counter this, so I can definitely slam it. So it makes it easier to make the higher plays without any risk. All right, let's go to round 3. We're 1-1. All right, this is our opening hand for round 3. We've got the Scam, the double grief package here. We will lose our Grist potentially for it, but it seems pretty good. I'll keep this. We can endurance as well if something untoward happens to us. We need to do that. Chalice of the Void for 1. Okay, so our Scam plan is kaput. It's a little sad. We still need to decide if we want to use the grief though. Right, step 1 is cast our free spell. Delighted Halfling, Grist. Like, we just have the turn 3 Grist here, if we want it. We can't play Delighted Halfling, so we're not picking that. Are we picking another Grief? Are we picking another Grist? Are we picking the Legolas? I think it's probably another Grief here, because that's something we can cast down the line. And then I think we are casting this, pitching our 1-drop that we can't cast. Can't do the Gilded Goose thing either, but at least we can double Grief if we need to right now. Chalice is a little bit annoying, I won't lie. Sigh, Thoughtcast. I think the correct pick here is the Sigh. We need to remember to play a land. That's an important part of this turn. We have a question about the Gilded Goose. I guess we might want to hold it to pitch to Endurance in the face of like an Emery activation or something. I was working out whether I want it in the graveyard to pump our Fiend Artisans and stuff, or if I want it in hand to pitch to Endurance. I think it's a real question. All right, so we're going to get hit by an Urza Saga game this turn. Oh, Wasteland. Okay, we're not going to get hit by the Urza Saga game. Goodbye. So we kind of just look like a pretty standard, like Mutant Elves type build from what our opponent's seen so far. Right, there's the island. So we managed to strip 2 of their payoffs so far. A bauble? Sure. So they can cast the Thoughtcast now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There it is. Have some more cards, opponent. A Mox. Alright. We're still a little ways away from actually getting into this game. Just another land. Okay. So they've got Hardcast Force of Will up. So what are we supposed to do here? We can grief to make sure that our thing goes through. We just play the Endurance at instant speed in our opponent's turn. That probably is the smart move here. Try and make them use up their Force of Will on the Endurance. Ah, another Urza Saga. Okay. We don't really care about basics in this matchup, so we'll go and get ourselves a Taiga or Badlands. Probably a Badlands, so we have black for grief when the time comes. So green, whatever. Do I want to shuffle my opponent's, put my opponent's cards into their... I don't think I do. I don't really want these good cards in their deck. We're just going to go okay here. Alright, so we've got a guy. I'd love to draw a Wasteland. That would be peachy. Not a Wasteland. Understood. We know they've got the Force of Will, so the first thing we cast needs to be good enough to get a Force of Will. I guess we'll get a Taiga, so we've got a pretty spread of all of our lands there. We'll cast this for black, 1/1. So this is good enough to get a Force of Will, or it will take the Force of Will. So either way, we should be able to strip this Force of Will out of our opponent's hand. Unless they have something even scary that we have to take. And then next turn we can try and win the game with a Minsc and Boo. Right, here's the High-Cast Force of Will. Yep. Well, that's fine, opponent. You carry on. So we do have Collector Ouphe for this matchup. That doesn't really interact very favourably with the Urza Sagas, because they're still going to be able to make a load of guys. And they'll still be able to make guys off of Sigh as well. We don't have any actual like destruction. We need something like Seeds of Innocence to really bring the hammer down. We could reanimate the Grief and cast a Grist. We can't reanimate because of Chalice. Ignore me. Is it Minsc and Boo? I think it's Minsc and Boo time. Red, green, 1/1. How many artifacts do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will trade with an Urza Saga token. Alright, they had Force of Will blue card as well. Alright. We can't attack into the 4/4, which is going to be a 6/6 minimum next turn. So I think that was our window. That Minsc and Boo resolving was what we needed to happen. Right, so there's a 4/4. They untap, make a token. It's a 5/5. They get an artifact. It's a 6/6. If they have any more artifacts in hand, it gets more out of hand. If they have Shadow Spear, they can equip it as well. I don't think we can really win from this position. Undone by the Heirs of Saga a bit there. But they did have to have like multiple Force of Wills, I think. If that Minsc and Boo gets to crack in once, then we can defend the Minsc, and then go again, and then it becomes a little bit tricky. Although I suppose Shadow Spear kind of changed that whole dynamic. Yeah, it's tough. Like, our opponent's deck is one of the best decks in the format at the moment. Now, obviously, we're trying some new stuff out, so it's always going to be a bit challenging. So I don't think we can win from here. We don't have any big haymakers to get back in the game. I think we just scoop it up. Value mine and my opponent's time in life. So, what are we looking at? We would like 3 times Collector Ouphes. This does kill an artifact, so I think we have to have it. The opposition agent I like here. I don't really like bringing in a bunch of stuff into a chalice, and we can't really blow up a chalice either. So that doesn't seem the best of time. So I think we're looking at trimming some of our potential 1-drops here. I don't think we need the full reanimates here. This is still good with the endurance. I don't mind Legolas. It lets us pick off Thoughtseize tokens quite easily and keep them at bay, which is quite handy. I think we will keep the ring in for this one. Because we're bringing in 2-drops, I feel we have less need for these, and obviously making food is a little bit slow when we're doing Collector Ouphe, and we're boarding another 2-drops, so maybe we board these out. Oh, they do find our Collector. How useful is Punishing Fire in this matchup? That's another question we need to answer, actually. Is Punishing Fire playable here? It kills Emery, which is important. It kills Thought Monitor, which is less important. Maybe we can trim on the Punishing Fire. Like, we could bring in Red Elemental Blasts instead of Punishing Fire, but if we get locked onto Chalice, that's lights out. We have 1 piece of artifact removal, because this is just creatures and planeswalkers. So it's supposed to be the Kroxa. I think it's supposed to be the Kroxa. Again, I'm kind of reluctant to board in the Pithing Needle for the reason I just mentioned. Alright, we'll try this. We're just trying to rely on Collector Ouphe. Wastelands can be quite useful in this matchup, but your opponent can also have hands that just invalidate your Wastelands entirely. But we have Emery beat, we have Saga beat with this hand. And then we do have a Grist that we can sort of work into. Would I rather just try and find the Ouphe? I think we should keep this. It's very low end of what's keepable, I think. It's so many lands. Like, these are spells rather than lands, the Wastelands. But we do get to beat 2 of the best things that our opponent does in the Emery and the Saga. And we have 2 Sagas answered, which is the thing that just single-handedly beat us last time. Kind of wish we had it. Oh, our opponent's gone to 4. Alright, so we'll just be wastelanding whatever they play, perhaps. Just try and stop them from being able to play the game whatsoever. Right, they could end up drawing a whole bunch of cards on turn 1. And it becomes largely irrelevant. Right, play this so they don't know about the Wastelands. There is an option of playing the Wastelands, so if you play a Saga, you kill it with the trigger on the stack, so you never get mana out of it. But I don't think that's necessarily where I want to be. Ancient Tomb. Lotus Petal. Okay. 2 mana. 3 mana. Asai, Master Thopterist. Right. We don't beat that. That's one of the ones we don't beat. Okay. But we can blow up their land. That does set us back a little bit with them having stuff on board. Legolas is kind of a nice place to go. But I think step 1 has to be stop our opponent from being able to play the game. And then Legolas can block the Sai. And then whenever we shoot a Thopter, we get to free Thopter out of it. Okay, there's a Bauble. It's going to give them a redraw for next turn to try and find stuff. Legolas also has Reach, which is quite handy because he's an archer. Although not all archers have Reach. I think Orcish Bowmasters doesn't, just for reasons. I don't think it needs Reach. It's already very good. Okay. They're cracking the Bauble because they need... So they've already got Metalcraft, and they just need to draw cards to try and find some mana sources. Reanimate. What does that do for us? Literally nothing. Okay. So we're representing Punishing Fire here. We could have played the Wasteland, but I don't think we can afford to wasteland this turn cycle. But maybe if we had to. So our Legolas should be very good against what our opponent's putting down over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this isn't quite enough for a Kappa Cannoneer. We do have to ask the question if we want to take one of these out so they can't Kappa Cannoneer, or we want to get the maximum value with the Legolas. I think it's a single artifact would give them the Kappa Cannoneer anyway, so I think we're supposed to play the Legolas here. Right, so we get Taiga, Bayou, and Badlands. The spread. We'll cast our Reach guy. Our friend's got 2 cards in hand. This guy pretty good against Sai. And we do have a Reanimate. If he doesn't make it into play because of counter spells, we can then reanimate him next turn and cast a Punishing Fire and take out 2 Thoughtseize. I am concerned about the prospect of Kappa Cannoneer. Right, so they drew with that instead, which means I don't think they have Kappa Cannoneer. Right, no attacks. That's over to us, is it? Minsc and Boo. I think we need to strip away some of their creatures here. So we're going to go for targeting this and use this mana. Alright, so we kill 2 of their artifacts. And this will knock them off Metalcraft for now. Hydro Blast. Okay, we still kill 1 of them though. And then I think we get this Grove of the Burnwillows back. Or into place, we can get our Punishing Fires back. And I think we just hold here because we are behind in life totals. Collector Ouphe at any moment is pretty gas. Especially since we have a Reanimate to rebuy him. An Emery. Alright, that dies to Punishing Fire. And takes a Thopter along with it. Are we supposed to be griefing our opponent to make sure that our Punishing Fire resolves? That is certainly an interesting idea. I don't mind that. I think I will grief pitching Grist here. Alright. What have you got? Kappa Cannoneer is one of the things they had. Okay, so that's the thing I'm most scared of, I think. We can take the Thought Monitor as well. So then we will cast this, targeting this guy. So red, red. Legolas will take out one of these. They no longer have Metalcraft. Oh, Legolas doing the work. Putting in a shift. Are we supposed to reanimate our grief so that we've actually got a good win condition? I think so. We could reanimate their Kappa Cannoneer, which is a 4/4. We can have a grief which takes a card out of their hand. Let's just take the grief. That's better. It costs us less life as well. We'll take the Thought Monitor here. And then we'll pass. So we should be able to snipe out a Thopter token next turn. We're supposed to gain life now just in case our opponent draws something that messes with our graveyard, aren't we? Next turn we can jam a Minsc and Boo. Alright, so they've got a thing that we're going to Wasteland. They're not going to enjoy that. Okay, so we will cast a Punishing Fire targeting this guy. This guy will ping down that guy. Second Punishing Fire. Alright, our opponent scooped it up there. Another Legolas win. Excellent. We still need to win game 3 though. Don't want to do anything differently here. How am I supposed to have his Red Blast? They're so bad into Chalice. It's just a thing that's coming back to get me. But I think they're probably slightly better than a Reanimate or a Thoughtseize into Chalice post. Since we're on the play. On the draw, sorry. I think these are just going to be slightly better. We've got the Scam hand, if that's going to be good. We do have Once Upon a Time to find us our second land. I think we can keep this. Emery, Lurker of the Lock. Okay, a pretty annoying one. Thought Monitor, Soul Red Lantern. Okay. What are we looking at here? Let's cast Once Upon a Time. Delighted Halfling. I think we just need to get our Bayous. It's just we've got some mana underneath us. So I think step 1 is cast this. I think we're supposed to pitch Malakir Rebirth now. And then use the Reanimate possibly on their Thought Monitor. And then we can do a second grief if we want to. Psymaster Thoughttrust is pretty annoying. Don't want them spamming stuff. And we'll play a Bayou. Get the Thought Monitor. It's a lot of life, but I like drawing cards. Okay, so we've got some lands. Do you want to grief away this Thought Cast? What can our opponent play next turn? Just a Soul Red Lantern if we do that. That seems good to me. I think we pitch... If we pitch the Fiend Artisan, we can't get the... If we pitch the Fiend Artisan, we can't get the Collector Ouphe. But if we keep the Opposition Agent, we can stop the Saga from tutoring. Or do we just want them to cast the Thought Cast here? So they have 1 mana, 2 mana. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just play this, cast Thought Cast. Yeah, that's pretty bad for us. But we're 2 for 1ing ourselves to stop our opponent drawing 2 cards. I think we're supposed to wait here. We might regret getting this Thought Monitor. But if it found us like a Collector Ouphe, then we're laughing because we can shut off the Saga next turn as well. So there's the Saga. Here's the Thought Cast, I assume. You cast a Thought Cast because that way if you find a bauble... Alright, they just want to stop getting scammed. Well, that's really good for us then. Well, actually, no, this is the same, right? Because this is This is an artifact, isn't it? So they still have 1, 2, 3 artifacts and 2 mana. Yeah. So this is just free. Ignore me. I hate doing affinity maths. All right. Then they get to draw 2 cards. I'd love to draw Collector Ouphe. That would be grand. Not a Collector Ouphe, as it turns out. So I think we're going to go get another black source here. Probably wants to be a Bayou. And we'll play the guy that gets a Collector Ouphe next turn. And are we going to attacks here? I guess so. I don't think the Emery is going to be attacking. What they can do is Otawara bounce the Thought Monitor as well. So it's a bit of a short-termist play, trying to take their Thought Monitor rather than just griefing them. Maybe we should have just griefed them instead. But again, if we're digging towards Thought Monitor or something that puts Thought Monitor into... Collector Ouphe or something that puts Collector Ouphe into play, then I think that's exactly where we want to be. Right, so getting the bauble back. So we can play the opposition agent and steal whatever they're getting out of their saga. I don't hate that. Is that better than getting Collector Ouphe? That is a genuine question here. The opposition agent isn't necessarily going to resolve, is the problem. This flies, they're not going to block it. Just get our 2 damage in and turn it into Collector Ouphe. That is the plan. Well, our opponent lost connection for a bit, but they're back now. So in comes a Thought Monitor. So the hope here is that we can sacrifice this Thought Monitor and our opponent won't activate their Saga in response. It's going to shut off their mana sources here. They should be making a Saga in response. Saga token, sorry. Come on, Fiendy boy. Oh, they didn't. Oh, we're in. Boom. So they don't get to make a Saga token now. That's pretty good news for us. Now we can just start overloading them with a bunch of stuff. This is going to be a Dismember. It's going to be a Dismember. Feel it in my bones. Oh, I've not seen that art before. That's pretty cool. Sure, our guy dies. Time Spiral Remastered. Many, many good printings in that. Alright. So we stopped them getting one of their tokens. It's a shame you can't do Fiend Artisan instant speed, and you could do your grief and then sacrifice your grief for something. That'd be great. Not how the game works though, but you can dream, right? Alright. I feel our opponent is significantly ahead now because of their Dismember play. We're a little bit all in on that. The Shadow Spear is in our opponent's graveyard, but they have an Emery which can go and find it whenever they want it. So it's an awkward spot for sure. Right, they've gone for the bauble. So if we can clear the Emery, we can chump block these construct tokens for this construct token for days with our Grist. But they do have an Otawara they can use to bounce one of our chump blockers. So there's a lot to think about here. We could try and spin up another Collector Ouphe. I think that honestly might be good enough here. Take a trip down Once Upon a Time Lane. Oh, we found one. Right, we need to make sure this resolves. So we're going to cast this, pitching Thoughtseize. We could have done this last time when we got it off the Fiend Artisan. That probably would have been a smarter play. Alright, what you got, opponent? Force of Will, Pithing Needle, Thoughtcast. So we can take the Force of Will here so that our Collector Ouphe resolves. They're going to sacrifice their Soul Guide for a draw. They didn't. Interesting. Okay. So they do have a guy that's dealing damage in significant chunks of our life total. But we can Grist, and that can provide chump blockers until we can win this game. So I think we're going to take the 6 or 7, depending on if they play the Pithing Needle or not. I imagine the Otawara is going to stay in their hand unless they have something really amazing to cast for blue. Like, they can cast the Thoughtcast here, just try and find more answers. But they have an answer in hand, they're just looking for land, and they'd have to use up that answer. So, I don't know. It's an interesting gambit. I only don't know whether it's right to do based on the number of other Dismembers and things in their deck. Right, so getting back a bauble. I'm just going to play a Capican on it, because we're not beating that. An island, okay. Alright, we're going to take our 7. I think it's better to have the Fiend Artisan around. We can double up on Collector Ouphes when the time comes. Call of the Ring. A little bit stinky, that one. Black, blue, black, green, and 1. We'll play this Grist. This is our win condition. How many artifacts do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they can play this Thought Monitor whenever they like. Not a massive fan of that. Let's try and mill just a bunch of creatures and make our guy big. We did mill a bunch of creatures. Alright. Alright, let's put them to half their life total. We need our opponent to not have a mana source here to bounce our insect token. Maybe that's a bit of an all-in play there. I mean, probably didn't need to attack with both of our guys. But this does mean that we can just kill our opponent next turn. I don't know. Oh no, what is this? Oh, they have a legendary creature. Oh my god. I've completely punted this, haven't I? They have the Ottawara and they have the legend in Emery. Oh my god. I've been thinking they needed 4 mana for this the whole time. Yeah, they've got the game here. We just punted this one. Oh god, that's so embarrassing. Yeah. So here they go. They go bounce the insect token, kill us. Yeah. Oh, that was a punt. We could have had that one. Oh, Shower of Arrows is our next card. Not that it's a great card, but it would have been great in this situation. Yeah, we completely punted that game. Oh dear. That's annoying. Oh. Alright. Sad, but there we are. So the deck should be 2-1, but we are 1-2. Let's go to the next round. We don't have any green mana here. I don't think we can keep this hand. This is a much more sound hand, I would say. We'll keep this. I think we throw back the Badlands here. Probably lead out on Goose. Actually, if we lead out on Goose, what are we realistically casting? We don't have a follow-up right now. Maybe we're supposed to just go and get a swamp and cast the Thoughtseize here. That way we don't get rocked by some turn 1 combo. Or some nonsense like this, I guess. So they've got City of Traitors and Spirit Guides. We could take their only red source. That'll make their turn 1 play Chalice of the Void. How do I feel about Chalice of the Void? Yikes. Our opponent's hand is good. I don't want to cast Chalice of the Void, but I also don't want them to cast Rabble Master. I don't really want them casting any of their 3 shots. Oh, yikes. This is a horrible, horrible situation to be in. We take the Rabble Master. They play a Fable, and then they play Caves of Chaos Adventure the following turn. If we take the Fable, they just play the Rabble Master, and that probably just beats us on its own. I think we have to take the Simian Spirit Guide and hope. That is not how I wanted to play this game of Magic. Mono Red Prison deck is just so good. Alright, there's a City of Traitors, and they get the Chalice. Sure, we lose our Gilded Goose, which is unfortunate. Minsc and Boo. Okay, so we've got a plan now. We just need our opponent to brick on red mana for a few turns. Okay, so they're going to play Fable, I imagine, here. Because that's going to get them more mana down the line. That's not the worst, because they don't get to play Caves of Chaos Adventure next turn. Verdant Catacombs, I guess we'll play that out. And next turn we play Minsc and Boo and hope it's good enough. They get to flip their foe, their Mirror Breaker soon, which is going to be pretty backbreaking too. Yep, so they're coming for 2 here. They make a treasure. They probably aren't going to cast anything here. Or they pitch the Caves of Chaos Adventure, actually. Another Fable. Okay. This means our Minsc and Boo dies if we... Right, so we'll go and get the Forest. And this other one can be... Taiga? No, we need a black source for our guy, don't we? So it needs to be a Bayou or... So, what we need to do here is if we play our Minsc and Boo, we'd have to stay back on blocks. We can play the Grief, take the Rabble Master, trade with one of these, and then play the Minsc and Boo. I don't like either of these plays, to be honest with you. Fury. We have to take the Fury because we can't just let them keep copying Fury, because that will be unbeatable for us because the Fey of the Mirror Breakers are flipping now. Yeah, I think our opponent has got this game. Am I trading with this? I don't think I can. I think I have to use this to hold back on blocks. Or use it to shoot down their Reflection of Kiki Jiki with the Minsc and Boo. And then chump block with the Boo. That doesn't actually impact us, that's fine. But they're going to play the Rebel Master as well here. Surprised they didn't play that pre-combat, to be honest. I guess it doesn't really make a difference. Oh no, they looted it away, sorry. Missed that. Alright, so they got another Fable. Yikes. So we'll play the Minsc and Boo. Now what are we doing? We can put some trample counters on. We can put some counters on our Boo here. But they get to copy a Goblin Shaman token this turn. Oh yikes! So they attack us with 4 things. So Minsc and Boo dies. So we are just trying to race with these cards. That feels terrible. But I think that's where our hand goes there. We can't defend this Minsc and Boo. We can clean up some of their guys maybe, but there's so many ways that goes wrong for us. Yeah. This is a tough one. If we have any come into play affect creatures, we're completely dead, I think. These two coming at Boo. This one coming at me. Yep. Can't do anything about that. Got a couple of dead spells in hand as well. Use the Chalice. But they're not really spells that would be making a difference in this game. What have you got? 4 mana. Chaos of Chaos Adventure. Okay, so they can speed run this. They can complete the initiative next turn, I think, right? No, they can get almost to the end of the initiative run. Yikes. So we can play this Grist. What does it achieve for us? I guess we attack with everything and hope they make a mistake blocking, because they have enough damage coming that we can't soak it up, because they're going to have 2 Chaos of Chaos Adventures. Yep, so they're making a Chaos of Chaos Adventure here. It's going to forge. Yeah, we're so dead here. Let's not bother wasting our time. Alright. This is going to be a little bit tough. On the play, I don't mind the Thoughtseize, and I think the Shower of Arrows has some merit here. Endurance isn't great, but it's a creature that blocks 2/2s well, so I don't hate that. Maybe we're just getting rid of Once Upon a Time here, because they're boarding in a couple more spells. Just try and grief scan them super early. Do you want Opposition Agent just as a creature that gets to attack? Take out Malakir Rebirth here. The best things we're trying to do here is discard our opponent's hand and then reanimate one of their really good guys on turn 1. That's probably the best thing we can do. So we can make their Chaos of Chaos Adventure on turn 1, and that should be good enough to win a lot of games. No black mana. It's the mulligan. No black mana again. This is a mulligan. Just black mana. Oh, jeez. Now we need to find a hand that functions on some level. This hand can beat some of the little guys, I guess. So we can keep this. 3 cards got to go. Well, Kroxa's not very good. Are we just relying on a couple of removal spells here? I think so. Just hope they're on a goblin hand. Answer their goblins. This feels terrible. I don't think we're going to win this game. We're definitely learning a lot about this deck, though, and about some of the cards in it, which is good. Kind of Mox. Imprinting. Chaos of Chaos Adventurer. Then the Bugbear. Blood Moon. So this will become a swamp. So this way we can play stuff like Grief. Like a scam package. Alright. Let's hope they're all in on Blood Moon. Fable of a Mirrorbreaker. Right, so we can kill this guy on the spot. Thanks for fixing my mana. A Badland. Also known as a mountain. So we can kill the back half, but we are 2 for 1ing ourselves off of a mulligan to 4 or whatever to deal with this Fable. We don't get to do Grove of the Burnwillows stuff anymore. Bone Crusher Giant. That's got 4 health. Okay, so the reason they're playing this is the damage can't be prevented this turn is really good against the 1 ring. So you can shoot anything, but then it will still prevent damage, even though you can't target your opponent that turn. You can still make it so your attacking creatures get to deal their damage. And sometimes if you've got to blow up a 1/1 goblin token to do that, that's fine. Rabblemaster. Okay. I guess we kill the Rabblemaster here, because this will clock us quicker than a Reflection of Kiki-Jiki. This is target of a spell, not a spell or ability, so they can copy it. And it won't make a difference. It won't ping them for 2. Not that I think they really care about that. So this is a spell we can't cast. So how much are we taking this turn? We're taking 8 damage this turn, 8 damage the next turn. So we need to draw something on our next turn, otherwise we're dead. Alright. What we got for us deck? A card that we can't cast. Yeah, we got absolutely smoked in that game. That matchup didn't even feel remotely close, to be honest. Alright, let's go to the final round looking for the 2-3, although we should have won one of the ones I punted against the 8 cast with a little mistake. An opening hand with no mana again. Now we do have a Once Upon a Time and some mana dorks, but that seems a little sketchy to me to keep. I think we have to mulligan this realistically. Spells we can't cast again. How is this happening all the time? We're really getting jammed up with our hands a bit here, but maybe there's something to do with the configuration of how the deck's built that is making this more likely. We'll have to have a look at that when we go to the conclusion at the end. But I've had to been throwing back a lot of cards here. A lot of hands here. For like a deck that's essentially just like a fair deck, we should be able to keep 7s more often than a lot of decks. Alright, this is an acceptable hand. I think we'll drop the Wasteland and we'll drop... I think it has to be the 4-drop here. So we can lead out on a Bloodstained Mire, so we can't be Wasteland, and then we can play our 2-mana 1/1, which I'm not really sure should be in this deck. But we'll discuss that in the end. I think there's a lot of good stuff to break down with this deck. A swamp, sure. This is one of the Lord of the Rings swamps. Very thematic. Okay, so we can get swamp and a dark rich. Oh, we're getting opposition agented. Oh no. Okay. So they're going to see everything that's in our deck. They're going to also get our land, so we get effectively wastelanded here. We should have also cracked our other fetch in response to the opposition agent. We just let it go through like an absolute clown. I was too down on the fact that we were getting opposition agent, and I just gave up there. That's not really a good idea, is it? A Doughty Voidwalker. Yeah, our opponent's deck is probably going to smash us. Yeah, this Verdant Catacomb being uncracked in response to the opposition agent was an enormous error. Okay. I think I've somewhat entered Tilt City with this deck today. I think my little misplay against 8 casters has just annoyed me too much. Hymns to Turak, right? What are we doing? This is a 6. And then we take another 6. And then we die. So this next card needs to be real good. Or we can just scoop it up. Punishing Fire. Okay, so we can find another mana source. We can kill the opposition agent, unlock our mana. Shoulder it. Nope. We can't beat that. Alright, not sure we win if we didn't make the mistake of not cracking this, to be honest, looking at how this game panned out. But yeah, that was an annoying error for sure. So, Thoughtseize is probably going to be useful here. They're going to have like Helm of Obedience and stuff in their deck. I assume they're going for that sort of combo. We could bring in something like Collector Ouphe and Pithing Needle to stop those things. Collector Ouphe will stop their Chrome Moxes if they have them. So I think our main plan here is to try and get their better creatures out of their deck with our Reanimates here. I'm a big fan of this Malakir Rebirth. That gets our Thoughtseize. Now, can we fit any of these in? What in our deck doesn't look good in this matchup is the Punishing Fire against all their X2s feels great, to be honest. I don't mind the Goose. Gets us sort of up the curve to these things a little bit more. Are we just saying we'll try and deal with their thing using discard? That feels a little bit loose. Do you think we would want... Let's put in 1 Collector Ouphe to tutor for. That's probably going to be better than Kroxa here. Just so we can tutor for it to shut off Helm. We could also bring in this instead, actually. That might just be better. This can blow up the Leyline. Might have some other useful targets. Alright. This hand is a little bit better, but does have an issue. We kind of have 2 hands of 2 different decks here, right? So we can go Thoughtseize, but we need another mana source before we can cast this. And this isn't even a plan. This is just a 2/2. I think we have to mulligan for something better. Okay, this sets us up nicely, I think. We can keep this. And we'll throw back one of our lands. Oh, I can't believe I got done by opposition agent. Right, so we'll fetch a green source here. Probably needs to be green and black. So it needs to be a Bayou, so we can maybe hard cast one of these griefs. I don't think we can afford to pitch cast the grief right now, because then we have literally no action for the rest of this game until we draw something. Dark Ritual. How bad is this going to be for us? Thoughtseize. Okay, that's not so bad. We'll take one of our griefs. A Dark Confident. Not seen this out before. Not the scariest of things. Nice to see the little old Dark Confident back again though. Right, so I think we cast this Once Upon a Time now. Another grief. Or a Grove of the Burnwillows, which we already have mana for. Maybe just take another grief, and then we'll just try and chain griefs after this turn. And then the Swamp. Shouldered's Edict. Alright. And we'll buy this back now before they can mess with our graveyards. They might have brought in some sort of graveyard hate. Unlikely, but I guess we played into Thoughtseize by putting it into our hand, but we don't really care if they Thoughtseize it because we can get it back quite easily. Okay. Just taking a grief. Oh, they're taking everything. I'll buy it. Well, at least we've drawn the mana we needed for our grief now. That's the main thing. Yeah, our opponent's deck is in a lot of ways similar to ours, but more streamlined. What is this? Each land is a... Oh, it's Urborg, but with a weird... Huh. Alright. This Liliana of the Veil, probably not going to be our friend. So they get to kill the first thing we make. So a Grist would be aces, or a Minsc. Or why not just a Verdant Catacombs? That's also not great. So we can... Oh, we're supposed to be shooting this down with our Punishing Fire, aren't we? Sorry, I'm playing so sloppy today. Alright. So it's going to plus. Red. We'll buy it back. 1 past 10. We'll crack this now. Our opponent's got no things we have to worry about. So we want more red sources. We probably want a Taiga here. Okay, we can get rid of their card advantage engine. So they get 1 card out of it. Sure, when they pitch into this. Path of the Dead. What is that? Cavern of Souls with a weird thing on it. Sure. So we can kill Leyline on our turn if we want to. Thoughtseize. They've got 1 card in hand. Punishing Fire back. Kill this Liliana. Now we have to decide if we want to cast this Thoughtseize or not. Now, if our opponent had anything good, they would have cast it unless it's another Liliana. That's probably what they would keep in their hand, right? So let's... Orcish Bowmasters. Why didn't they... They were F6 and they didn't just play it. That was an error. Alright. We got a freebie there a little bit. Okay, they scooped that one up. Interesting. Didn't really see any of the Helm Leyline stuff. They looked like just kind of like a mono black stuff deck, really. So are we even supposed to have this shower of arrows? Maybe having the Collector Ouphe is better just because at least it beats down. If we're looking for an answer for Helm. Yeah, I can buy that. I kind of want Kroxa. Here. I think I'll just drop a Fiend Artisan. It's just something that we can do when we're in top deck wars. This actually can kind of achieve some stuff, maybe. We're on the draw, but we do get to Thoughtseize our opponent's hand a bunch. Am I really keeping a 1-lander? I don't think I am. Jesus. Okay, this is a good hand. So 2 of these cards have got to go. So we'll lose a Kroxa and we'll lose a Wasteland. And the plan is grief our opponent, reanimate something like a Shouldered, and we'll then try and win the game with it. Dark Ritual. Hymn to Turak. Okay. That's both of our lands. Black Sauce. Alright. We still could have griefed there, but I'd rather grief when they're getting towards the really scary stuff. But maybe we're supposed to grief there and stop that. Go over the Burnwillows. I'm just too tunnel visioned into trying to stop Shouldered. I'll take an Edict. Right, so the first creature we get isn't going to do anything anyway. Come on, Dark Confident triggers. Our win condition is Dark Confident triggers. Alright. Did mention I had some reservations about the mana base at the start. I think that's been borne out somewhat. A Wasteland. Are we even supposed to Wasteland here? I don't think we are. I think we're supposed to hold it so that we can cast Punishing Fires if we draw it. Yeah, there's no way their Dark Confidence is going to kill them on its own. The most we've seen is a CMC4. I like that deck though. Just sort of mono black aggro type thing. Yeah, sure, have another guy. So this is 6, 7, 8 damage. So we're dead on our opponent's next turn. And they got Shouldered as well. They're going to play. Alright, so there's the match. And we've completed the league. We finished 1-4. But one of those rounds I did make a punt. Now we might still have lost that game. But I think that punt was obviously quite substantial. We should have held back so we could block that guy with our Fiend Artisan and just poked for 2. Then our opponent would have been on 10. So that's still quite a lot of life we have to get through, but we were going to draw into the thing that blows up the artifact creature. So we would have actually been fine. So that's annoying me, and it certainly put me on tilt a little bit, as you probably gathered from the back end of the league. But let's talk about this deck and some of the problems that I think this deck has. So we noticed that some of the things we were doing were pretty good. So the Delighted Halfling into Grist and Minsc and Boo plan was very good. This was exceptional. Let's zoom out a bit so we can spread the deck a little bit more and talk about some stuff. So this whole plan, so we cheated up the curve going to these guys and going to this. This felt, you know, this side of the deck felt very good. The Legolas Punishing Fire actually was pretty good. Now, we did come across a matchup where it was particularly good. But how useful is it going to be in other matchups? People are kind of shying away from 1 toughness guys anyway, so you're going to have to target it once first. But I think that's genuinely something that's relatively reasonable to do. Obviously, legendary creatures are a little bit of a drawback. But our deck's kind of got a lot of disparate plans going on here as well. So, Gilded Goose, I don't think is legacy playable, to be honest. There's so many better guys. Now, yes, Orcish Bowmasters can come down and kill them. But this would be better off as a Lotus Petal. This is basically what this is. This is a Lotus Petal that blocks and maybe does some other stuff sometimes, right? But it's like a come and play tapped Lotus Petal almost, because you don't get the mana straight away. So I don't think Gilded Goose is where I want to be. Now, I understand that this deck was submitted as a thing where it didn't want anything to die to Orcish Bowmasters. And to be fair, nothing died to an Orcish Bowmasters in our entire league. We didn't really see any though. So, but even if we did, like, our stuff is probably surviving. Apart from this Fiend Artisan, which I honestly don't understand. Well, I understand why it's there. It's like a way of tutoring things. But I don't think this deck supports Fiend Artisan. So Fiend Artisan is a very good card in the Newton Elves build. That build is absolutely chocked full of creatures. It plays loads and loads of mana dorks that it's more than happy to churn through, as well as obviously the Grist Hunger Tide churn of the deck. And it wants to sacrifice something every turn to the Fiend Artisan. Now, we don't really want to do that. And we don't also have like a natural order package, so it's just sacrificing more and more stuff. So we're not really a deck that supports Fiend Artisan properly. A lot of the time it's just going to be a very undercosted creature. And, a very overcosted creature. And its mana cost isn't always the easiest to cast, as you saw when we went underneath a Blood Moon. Now, sure, Blood Moon is not necessarily an ideal situation to be in. But Tarmogoyf is easier to cast and hits like a truck. I feel you could just go into like a reasonably good, just sort of standard Jund build here with like Delighted Halfling ramping you onto like your Grists on turn 3. Maybe there's some other things you can play on turn 3 that'd also be good. I'd have to have a little think about that. You know, there's going to be some good stuff. It can cast Endurances, which are just fine creatures that are well costed. But I don't think this is a Fiend Artisan deck. So I'm going to put this over here. Now, Kroxa is a card that I just don't think is very good. It looks like it should be like Uro, but it isn't like Uro. Uro is just always value. This is often not value. So I'm not convinced we want these things in the deck. Let's talk about Call of the Ring. So we didn't really have this. We brought it out quite a lot. And this might be an okay card. But the deck that this is okay in wants to be casting on turn 2. So it's a deck that wants to be playing 1-drops that want to attack, I would say, for the most part. Now, they don't have to because you're paying your 2 life, you're drawing your card. But in a deck with aggressive 1-drops, or playing this once you've already got creatures in play, seems like a better way to go generally. So I don't think this is the deck for Call of the Ring either. Now, I really appreciate that my donor decided they wanted to try loads of new stuff, and this is a really interesting way of fitting loads of different stuff that I can get a look at them for the first time and get them in my hands and play them and see how it goes. And I really appreciate that. The Punishing Fire, so we'll put the Punishing Fire with the Legolas. So this thing felt like it had some amount of legs to it. Now, obviously, Legolas isn't always going to have a big enough power to kill the things you want. But you can grow it over time with the Punishing Fires. So I think that's an interesting combo that I would like to explore a little bit more at some point, perhaps. Some other problems I have with this particular list, though, is our mana base. So we've got 7 fetches and 4 wastelands. And we've got these Grow the Burnwillows. But if you look, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lands that aren't making black mana for our turn 1 Thoughtseize Grief Scan package. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 lands that are making the green that we need turn 1. So that's not too bad. But this deck feels like the Wastelands, like you saw how many times that we were mulliganing, right? So this Malakir Rebirth should just be an actual land, I think, like another fetch land. And that's going to massively help the mana base out, because a fetch land effectively is all the colours you need, or whatever you need at the time. So I think this deck wants slightly more mana. We are trying to cast a 4-drop, right? That is our main win condition, is the Minsc and Boo. And if we have lots of land, that's good, because we have Punishing Fire, so we can really leverage that. So I think the mana base needs a little bit more help there. Like, obviously playing Wasteland and Grove of the Burnwillows is a little bit of a cost, so you need to sort of wriggle it through a little bit more, I would say. This would be how I'd start. Maybe that would be okay, but maybe you want some more. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I'm not sure our deck wants to be a Grief Scam deck and this sort of ramping to Planeswalkers deck. I think it kind of wants to pick a lane. I think there is probably an interesting Scam deck out there that you can play in Jund colours. But what interests me more is this side of the deck, to be honest, where we're just playing uncounterable, really good spells. you know, just a good old-fashioned classic Junding, but this time with uncounterable mana dorks. And in this sort of plan, I think the Legolas can fit in there, and this slot here is just good cards, right? That's all that is. So I think I'd be interested, like we can obviously still run Thoughtseize and things. So if we like strip out the Grist here, and we just kind of want to trade like JUND normally does. So you kind of trade 1 for 1 a little bit, and then you sort of overtake the game with powerful cards. So we could be running things like Tarmogoyf in here as well. That's a slightly easier thing on the mana to cast, and it just beats down really hard and is a very good threat. We can add in a Thoughtseize. We can have some removal that actually removes stuff that is a bit bigger, because obviously Punishing Fire is a bit tricky. Grist can remove stuff, but we don't have that many creatures. So sometimes Grist won't actually be able to kill things. So I think if I was... I'm not going to try and rebuild this into a completely different deck, because I think that's how I would go. I don't think this particular combination of stuff really works that well. I think there's some really cool ideas and some cool synergies, and obviously the donor wanted to see them all tested out together. And that's cool. And it's, you know, we learned a lot of stuff from this one. This was a really educational league for me, even if I did tilt towards the end of it. But I try not to do that. But sometimes you just have one of those days, right? But we did learn a lot of stuff. So we learned that Call of the Ring is something that requires relatively specific support around it. I think you do need to have like a decent clutch of creatures that are doing stuff with it, and I think it incentivizes you to be aggressive because of the unblockability thing that you get off of it, off of one of the it's not going to show us the thing, is it? But one of the layers of the Tempt to the Ring basically gives you unblockability, or they can only chump it or whatever. So I think it kind of leans into having some more aggressive stuff that you want to go with it. Now, just having mana dorks to like get the trigger on is also fine, but I think you want more mana dorks in this. I think you want these 4 and probably 4 Ignoble Hierarch as well. And then you can really jam up the curve that way. Maybe you don't need the extra land, or I think I'd still want the extra land if you're running the Ignoble Hierarchs. Maybe you don't have to run the full 4 Hierarchs. Maybe this deck should also be a Green Sun Zenith deck. That's not an unreasonable thing, because that's a good thing to channel colourless mana into, that you can actually get a refund of getting some coloured mana out of it, because you just pay the green with your land, and then this can contribute towards X. So maybe we're looking at more of like a Green Sun Zenith Jundy package. Or if we're wanting that many dorks, you could go old school and try something like Bloodbraid Elf, which is certainly not been in Legacy as a thing for a while, but it's a good card. But yeah, so I want Thoughtseizes in the... I want probably the full set of Thoughtseizes. I want some removal that actually kills stuff. Like Punishing Fire is great for what it does, but it doesn't do the bigger kills. So we were just cold to Urza's Saga quite often. So I feel we need some stuff with that. You could use a Green Sun Zenith package instead of a Fiend Artisan package, because I think that's just better. It's not as... You don't get things like Opposition Agent and stuff you can find off of it, but we can have a main deck Collector Ouphe, we can have an Outland Liberator. I think we do want a Dryad Arbor as well if we go that route. Now, we should have Dryad Arbor here if we're playing Fiend Artisan, but we're not playing the Fiend Artisan. But if we're playing the Green Sun Zenith, I think we do want the Dryad Arbor. And then you've got quite a lot of room to play with. I think, you know, just playing good spells is not a bad way to be. Probably want some card advantage in here. I think the sad truth is you probably want more mana dorks and the One Ring, right? That's the truth of the matter, because that card will be uncounterable off of the Delighted Halfling and kind of just wins you the game if you untap with it. So not so much in this, because you're not going to be untapping it a bunch, I suppose, but it's going to draw you... It draws you 1 card the turn it comes in, then 2, then 3. So that could be the card advantage engine that JUND is looking for, maybe. Also, Liliana is another thing we could ramp to with Delighted Halfling if you're interested in that. I think there's a lot of options to go with the Delighted Halfling route. And, you know, the scan route is a little bit more sort of weather-worn because people have been doing that for a while now. So this is what interests me more, having uncounterable legends we can play. Sideboard-wise, I didn't feel we had any way of killing creatures, which didn't feel ideal. We had some like one-offs here that didn't feel like they were adding that much because they were just singletons. And this Thoughtseize should probably just be in the main, I think, as well. But we tried out the deck. We learned some stuff and we found some interesting things. We got a nice screenshot of me killing someone with Legolas. So, you know, I've done my job today. I'm still pretty tilted by that punt I did where I forgot that the Ottawa got reduced in cost. And it's probably going to be annoying me for a little while. So there we go. All right. Thank you very much for watching. If you would like a donation deck on the channel, please get in touch. I really appreciate the support that I've been getting from viewers. It means a lot to me. All right. Time to go to bed. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.